Welcome back to another reading and correction of Stepping Up. With me, Kendar, the Tiger Writes, and I, the Tiger Supervisor. Today we are doing chapter 69. Tibs looked at a large room with the broken crates strewn about. It might be time to move these to another warehouse, he said, smiling. Using fire or air here again could bring it all down. Serena looked around thoughtfully. Remember, Jekyll told her and Crow said, if one of us starts agreeing too much with him, the other two need to call him out on it. And Tibs, if we say so, you release the assets. Of course. Tibs replied, this is just practice after all. Jekyll looked away, rubbing his eyes. I think corruption picked that color so we couldn't look him in the eyes and tell if he's lying. You're not? Tibs grinned. Don't think the element shows a color, Serena said. Just that. It just is that. Still unsettling the way the color changes with each element, Joseph said. They're having a difficulty looking at him, Jekyll had, and how your expression is different. It's like you've been replaced by someone else. He then looked at Kieran now. What is that color? Still me. I'm still me, Tibs replied. And when I sense Don's reserve, it registers as purple to me, a lot like his robe, but not quite. His isn't the same color as me. Mine isn't odd like his. Smile. The advantage of having more of it, I guess. How do you feel? People asked tentatively. No urges to go on a rampage and melt the entire town? Of course not. All I suggested the other day was that we go and melt your dad's house with everyone in it. Of course. What's the point of if your enemy aren't there when you bring a building down on them? The goal is to make it easy on you, right? Nicholas squirmed under the other two's attention. I didn't agree to it, he protested weakly. But you considered it? Serena asked. He made good points. That's why you have to watch each other. He's quite convincing. So being convincing in what he's like when using corruption? Joseph asked. Well, like sneaky, Jekyll replied. I'm not sure how honest he was, or if he just wanted to be outside and do whatever he wanted. Jekyll, I'm hurt. I'd have done what we agreed to. And then? Serena asked. Good show. I don't know. And I've seen what happens. Smile. There is a lot that can be done out there. Like melt the town? Jekyll said. He rolled his eyes. Of course not. Can you imagine how annoying it would be to deal with all that complaining? So it's about not bothering others, Joseph asked. I thought compassion was a Waters thing. If corruption's like that too, and he's convincing, that would work in our favor. Except Water wants to help everyone, Serena said, even our enemies. No. Gonna keep it singular, even our enemy. So do you want to help Jekyll's father too? Silver asked. Of course not. This wasn't considered. Conviction was strong and, ultimately, Tibs wanted out from under the guild's control. Maybe with the man's help, that would be easier. Noticed the way Jekyll was looking at him. What are you thinking? The father asked. Well, I don't want to help him, of course, but he doesn't know that. What if I told him I was fed up with the guild and how all they're interested in is feeding me to the dungeon? Look at how look how they aren't protecting the town. This is too much for a kid like me to deal with. I could convince him I want to help him take over, then turn around and bring him down. That isn't a bad... No. Jekyll cut off Karina. It's too good, so he's planning something else. Jekyll, you know me. I want what's best for the town. For Stowe. For all of you. I know Tibs with the brown eyes. The father replied. He wants all that. You have your own plans. Tibs sighed. Not going to win here, am I? You're too afraid of doing what has to be done, so you're seeing my plan as a ploy. Tibs, Kieran exclaimed. How can you say that? Jekyll's like a brother to you. You think my idea is good? It should work. You think my idea is good. That would work. He's the one who doesn't want to do it. I know he's the leader, but a good leader listens to the person who is smarter than he is, and that's you. Joseph whistled in admiration. I think that he's about getting his own way. It's about doing what is right for the town, Tibs countered. Turning Karina and Jekyll against one another isn't good for the town, the server countered. You've told me that you aren't good at stealing with your words, but with corruption's influence, you seem to be very good at it. But he isn't wrong, Karina said doubtfully. That's always how the confidence people do it, Karina said. They give you just enough of the truth you won't notice where the lies are. He chuckled at the surprised look she gave him. I'm a server in an inn. Back in Mountain Sea, where there's a staple. They are there. Those people. Wow. Looking at the key. Those people are a staple anywhere you get crowds. My father made sure I learned how to spot them before they could use me to swindle him. That's why it isn't working. That's why it isn't going to work, people said. We can't trust him. Look, I'm not lying. I want to help, and this is the best way to do it. I know Khrushchev means well here, but he's seeing a threat where there isn't one. No, he's right, Tibs. Let go. Wait, Karina said. You might be right. Karina, Jekyll said in exasperation. No, Jekyll, please listen to me. No, Jekyll, listen to me, please. Tibs didn't smile as the fighter looked in his direction, uncertain. Even to Khrushchev pointing out what Tibs had been doing, the doubt had been seated. Okay. So, Tibs, you want to pretend to switch side. That means you'll have to keep corruption as your element. He nodded. That was obvious. But for Jekyll's father to want your help, you'll have to do more than just have information for him. You're going to have to be able to use the essence in a meaningful way. Melting stuff isn't going to be enough. True, but it's not like Sebastian knows what I should be able to do. I'm just pro. He'll know. Remember, he's smart. Unlike Jekyll, he'll have done his research. I think you need to get Don to train you. Tibs opened his mouth and closed it. The idea had merit. Don was the only expert in town, and getting him to agree would be simple enough. He already thought he knew more than anyone around him. You're considering it? Jekyll asked in dismay. Her idea's good. Don's full of himself, so he'll believe me when I tell him I realize his element's the best. Don isn't an idiot, Khrushchev said. He knows water is your element. Then I'll tell him the truth. Bring him into my confidence is going to make him feel superior, so more inclined to help. He's going to tell the guild, Jekyll said. You can be certain of that. Right. That's going to be... Just trailed off. Would it be a problem? Yeah, power. Potentially a lot of it, and the guild wanted power. He could use that knowledge. He could use the knowledge he had to get them to loosen the noose around his neck. He rubbed the bracelet. Well, his wrist. You are right, Irina told Khrushchev. With corruption, Tibs is definitely self-centered. He'd never considered revealing his element to the guild or Dawn otherwise. Are you done with this experiment, then? Jekyll asked, sounding annoyed. She nodded. Let go of the essence, Tibs. He did. He wasn't worried. It wasn't like they'd think any frowned, thinking over what he'd been contemplating. Welcome back, the smiling Khrushchev said. I wasn't gone, Tibs replied. The ease with which he'd been willing to betray his friends bothered him. You were contemplating working with the guild, right? Irina asked. I was going to sell them what I know about the elements for my freedom, he replied. They'd never give that to you. Jekyll scoffed. He nodded. With corruption, I didn't believe that. Like with the other elements, I don't think about the consequences of what I want. And what do you want? Khrushchev asked. He hesitated. He thought he knew what he wanted. But corruption had shown him the town's safety wasn't what was most important to him. I want to leave. His face burned as he said it. Well, duh, Jekyll replied. You're an idiot, Tibs. Of course you want out. But I keep saying I want to keep the town safe. So? Just because you want one thing doesn't make the other thing you want a lie. I want to take Khrushchev and Jekyll, as man warned. But that doesn't mean I don't also want to help you. Tibs nodded. Does that mean using corruption isn't possible in the plan? Khrushchev asked. Just thought about it. Couldn't lie to himself, but he could convince himself, even while using corruption, that removing Sebastian from the town was best for him. Would make him look better to the guild, and Tyrannia would give him more leeway. And with that, he could work towards gaining his freedom. With thinking that'd be enough. With the elements, his thinking was narrower. I can still do it. Tibs didn't try to sound confident, but I'm going to have to be careful that something doesn't happen to change how I think about what we're doing and make me not follow the plan. You mean like how you stayed behind instead of returning to the inn as per the plan? Jekyll said, and rescuing Dawn? I wasn't rescuing Dawn, he replied, offended. I was keeping the archers from killing a runner who had no idea what they were appearing into. I could feel someone arriving. You could sense the void essence? Kieran asked. No, but I can sense any big shift in essence, and on the platform, what else was it going to be? Tibs, everything's going to change as we attack my father's house, Jekyll said. I think it's best if we come up with a new plan. Finding a way for Tibs to think of himself while channeling essence is the best way. Can you make that happen in the next few days? Jekyll asked. How about your bracers? Joseph asked. Tyrna said her amulet feels like a different part of herself. Couldn't you use that and not channel corruption? Tibs shook his head. Unlike her, I've had to learn to use the amulet as part of my reserves, since mine are so small. I don't know how to think of them as a part of me. And even if I manage it, I don't know there's enough essence there to do what we're aiming to do. We need more time, he said, which we don't have. Jekyll countered. If we don't, how about we stop now? As I've said, we've made progress in knowing what we need to work on. The rest can wait until after we've had a meal. I'm sure I can get Russell to cook you something edible. Don looked over the rough sketch of a part of the town on the table. Placed a finger on a group of buildings. That won't work. The crawling worm should be capitalized. The crawling worms right here. They're going to notice that what used to be an empty house is now. What? You know what? It used to be empty houses. Now have people in it. We were working on finding places for the attendant to take the families trapped near Sebastian's house. Don was there as part of Quigley's suggestion, and because of the part he played in getting the attendant to join the town's defense. Jekyll wasn't happy about it, but kept his temper under control. Barely. I didn't know my father had people in the worm. The words were clipped. Don looked at the rogue he'd brought. Citlali was an older woman with lean features and normal green eyes. Best I've been able to tell, she said. They got there last night. I'm sure you'll get word of it by the end of the day. Tibs elbowed Jekyll in the side as he opened his mouth. Now was not the time to argue over who should have been given the information first. Don smirked and Jekyll shaking from restraining himself. What's the alternative? Trina asked, louder than she had to. Forced Don to look at her and broke the building tension. There's still the need to house those families, and if they can't rely on that tavern for food, that removes that entire neighborhood from the list. The only other houses I can think of to house them with a tavern I know isn't taken over isn't the noble's neighborhood. Don rolled his eyes. Those people would ever allow anyone like us there. They'd just hand them out to Jekyll's father to make sure they were left alone. The only reason they haven't been kissing his boot is that there's more of us who have an element than them. They know that all the money they have won't save them if they piss us off. He looked through the drawings of other section of the town and pulled one out. This is where we're putting them. He tapped 6 houses around a courtyard. It's away from anything important, and from what I've been told, they already did a sweep, so if they were interested in it, they'd have taken it. The closest tavern isn't close, but the fact no one's looking at that area is more important. That courtyard also means the kids won't have to be inside all the time. That's an open courtyard. Jekyll countered, indicating the spaces between the buildings, between the houses. All it takes is one of my father's people walking by and they're going to see those kids playing outside. Don's grin made even Tibs want to punch him. Maybe you should bother walking around and learning the town. You'd know that whoever drew this screwed up. The houses are close enough together to block all visibility except along this path. He tapped on the lane connecting the courtyard to an alley. I'd have expected you to know that, he told him. The town changed too much. I haven't been able to learn the new sections yet. Even if you're right, Jekyll said, putting them there means we need to have more people assigned to make sure they're safe. Less chances of them being found doesn't mean no chances. How many people do you think it's going to take to keep those houses not far from a tavern your father owns safe? Jekyll ground his teeth. All right, your idea's better. Thank you. Don put so much superiority in those two words that was surprised his friend didn't throw himself over the table to strangle it out of the sorcerer. That was proud of Jekyll for that. And this concludes chapter 69 of Stepping Up. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next one's going to be posted, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story, it's available for free on Royal Road. If you want to support me and read a few chapters ahead of Royal Road, that's on my Patreon. And if you want to listen to me do these live, it's on Twitch every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. The links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.